Okay, we're in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, Code of Jewish Law written by the Alter Rebbe, chapter 617, subsection 4. That's what we're holding, Sif Daled. Discussing the laws here of pregnant women on Yom Kippur. And the essential law we said was, if she's unwell and she's sick, then she's treated like anybody else who's unwell and sick. If, however, she smelled something and there's a concern that she might miscarry, if she smelled something that made her desire, they try to ease that by having her take a taste or taking a little until finally give her to eat if she needs to. However, if her face changed, or any person who's smelled something to the point that the face started to change, then she's given food, right? Yeah. But then they try to But we tried to give this person a little bit less than the amount necessary first, because we don't know what's going to calm this person down. When someone's sick and the doctor says he needs to eat a certain amount, you got to follow the doctor's orders, as we'll learn later in chapter 618. But when someone who just had a great craving because they smelled something delicious, then we don't know what they need to calm them down, and it could be just a little taste will do the trick. Okay, subsection 4. Yoldes, a woman who just gave birth, within 3 days of birth. Loitis anaklal, she should not fast. Even if she says, I don't need to eat, I'm fine. If she gave birth in the last 3 days, she's fed food against her will. Don't let her be a martyr. Nevertheless, if we can, we give her food less than the measure for liability, as we discussed. More details of this coming in next chapter, chapter 618. But again, remember that we had the prohibition is to eat no matter what. It's against eating no matter what amount, but one is only held liable if one eats the amount of a large date, which is a little bit less than an egg, as we'll learn in the next chapter. So if we can, we try to avoid violation to the point of culpability and just stick with plain violation. Thus, the person's fed a little less than the amount. We went through this a while back, that it depends on what the Torah prescribes. If the Torah says don't eat, then the size of an olive. If Torah says, like example from Yom Kippur, Torah says to inflict pain upon yourself, then the threshold for liability for eating is enough that will settle your mind, that put your mind at ease. Eating the amount of an olive is not enough to settle your mind at ease, but eating the size of a date is. It's a few ounces bigger, but it makes that difference. This is the sages, their investigation, and this is the conclusion they've come to. Okay, so this is a woman who just gave birth within the last 3 days. She is fed against her will, even if she protests and says, I'm okay, we don't let her be a martyr, and she is fed if it's within 3 days. Now, from the 3rd day going to the 7th day, so then she's treated like one who is in danger, one who is sick to the point of being in danger. And thus, if she says, I need to eat, even though her friends who know her and they also know what the experience of childbirth is like, and as well as the doctors, they say she does not need to eat. Nonetheless, she's given food right away, just like anyone who is sick and is in danger. And even if doctors say, like we learned this in the Gemara, we'll learn this in chapter 618, that one who is sick and the person says, I need to eat, I'm in danger. Even if doctors say it doesn't need to eat, the person is given to eat. So likewise, a woman to give birth, within the last 7 days. Within the last 3 days, she's given food without asking anybody's opinion. Within 7 days, if she says I need to eat, even if the doctor says I don't, she's still given food. She said she has to eat. But again, pachas b'kashir, she's given in increments that keep her under the threshold of liability, Kamoshi's Bar Hashem, as we'll explain in the next chapter in 6 to 18. Mikan ve'elach, but from this point going forward, after 7 days from giving birth, then she's considered like someone who's sick but not in danger. While after 7 days from giving birth, she might still be in pain, she might still be sore, but there's no danger from giving birth. There could be a new danger because she's compromised and she might have gotten sick. Then she's treated like anybody else who got sick. But in terms of the birth, the danger of the birth is no longer present after 7 days, even if there might still be pain. Therefore, even if she said I need to eat, but why do I need to eat? Because of the pain of birth. Don't give her to eat. Because there's no danger here. There's pain, but there's no danger. But if she said I need to eat, because I'm about to get sick, I feel like I'm getting sick, and it could be she's getting sick because she's compromised, because she gave birth. That's possible. But now the issue is not that the birthing was dangerous to her. That danger has passed. It's the fact that she's getting sick. If that's the case, then she's treated like anybody else who's sick. She's fed. She's fed like any other sick person who says, I'm sick and I need to eat, otherwise it's dangerous. As we'll explain in the next chapter, we'll see there what it means when a person says, I need to eat. Okay, clear so far? So there's 3 stages. First 3 days, no questions asked, she eats. 7 days, she's considered like a sick person who's in danger, and if she says I need to eat, even if doctors say you don't need to eat, she's still given food. And after that, she's like anybody else. And if she says she's a person who's sick, who's not in danger. And if she says she's in pain from birth, eating's not going to help her. She's still the pain, and she's not in danger. But if she says, I feel like I'm getting sick and I need to eat to prevent that, then she's treated like anybody else. She says, I need to eat because I'm sick and there's danger. Okay. Now, how do you count 3 days and 7 days? And this concludes this chapter here. Shloishes Yomim Elu. These 3 days. And likewise, Shivas Yomim Elu. These 7 days. They aren't counted over a period of 24 hours. Meaning to say, going for example, she gave birth on the 7th of Tishrei. After midday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, let's just say. It's not as if we say day number 3 begins on 2 o'clock on Yom Kippur, because there's the 7th day, 24 hours later is the 8th day, 2 o'clock, 24 hours later is 9th day, 2 o'clock, and 24 hours later again, the 3rd time is 2 o'clock on Yom Kippur. So you might have thought, okay, the 3rd day begins in the middle of Yom Kippur, so she could eat in the morning, or she has to eat in the morning because she's still within 3 24-hour periods since she gave birth, right? That's what you might have thought. Says the Alter Rebbe, no. Yeah, thank you. You count it like the days of the week, meaning 7th of Tishrei was day 1, the 8th of Tishrei was day 2, the 9th of Tishrei is day 3, and therefore Yom Kippur, therefore Yom Kippur will be the 4th day since her giving birth, and she does not eat on Yom Kippur unless she says, I need, because she's considered after 3 days, before 7, and she's considered a sick person who is in danger. Clear? So not 24-hour period, but the day of her birth is day 1. Is day 1. That's correct. So even if she gives birth 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the 7th day, that's day 1. But they put here in the footnote, in the Hebrew at least, they say to look up the Tzemach Tzedek, which is the 3rd Chabad Rebbe who wrote a responsa, book of responsa, and he quotes from the Maharil, one of the early Ashkenazic codifiers of Ashkenazic practice, who writes that if she's weak and she's in pain, then we can treat this issue lightly and make the fourth day Yom Kippur be the third day, because it's still within the 24-hour period. If she's weak and in real pain, at least to give her that she should eat under the threshold of liability. That's they put it in the Hebrew footnotes. Okay. Finally, if she says I don't need to eat after the seventh, at the end of the seventh day going forward, she's not given any food at all. Sorry? No, sorry, yes. No, if it's after the third day, if it's after the seventh day, even she says I need to eat, she doesn't get. Right, sorry. Between the third and the seventh, then if she explicitly states I don't need to eat, then she's not given anything. If she says I need to eat, she's definitely given food. Aval bestam. But if she's quiet, she's not saying anything. She says, I'm not sure if I need to eat or not. So she's given food. Because there's a doubt of danger, and when we're in doubt, we go lenient when we're talking about danger. If she says, I don't need to eat, there's no doubt. She's confident in herself, she doesn't need to eat. Okay, this is where she's different than a sick person, as we'll see in the next chapter. But sometimes a sick person says, I don't need to eat, he's still given food. Whereas she says, I don't need to eat, she's not given food. But if she says, I'm not sure, or she doesn't say anything, then she's given food because you don't know. Elam Kain, unless her friends who know her and know what childbirth is like, from what doctors say she doesn't need to eat. Not that they're saying they don't know, they're saying explicitly she doesn't need to. So then we don't give her food because there's no doubt here. She doesn't say anything, and the doctors say you don't need to. Okay, so no food. Elam Kain, unless she says explicitly I need to eat, even though the doctors say don't need to, she says I need to. And therefore, because, as we said before, she's considered like a sick person who is in danger, she's given food because she says I need to. Clear?